Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here and helping address our concerns on this important topic. I know my colleagues have raised a lot of different concerns here, but I'd like to turn back for a moment to the core of the decision to pursue this proposal. The proposal we are discussing today is strikingly similar to the failed 2015 DOL fiduciary proposal. But there are some key differences between 2015 and today. Most notably, the SEC finalized regulation best interest, which requires broker-dealers to only recommend financial products to their customers that are in their customers' best interest. Furthermore, 43 state insurance divisions have adopted a similar best interest standard established by the NAIC. And lastly, we have a Fifth Circuit ruling that states the DOL overstepped its statutory authority when it proposed the 2015 rule. Mr. Campbell, given these factors, do you think that the recent DOL proposal is necessary?
I would argue it's absolutely unnecessary. I would also argue that it is not consistent with the Fifth Circuit and needs to be withdrawn.
Considering the Fifth Circuit ruled the 2015 proposal was outside the statutory authority of the DOL, do you believe the recent DOL proposal is outside the statutory authority of the DOL?
I do, because it attempts to apply a fiduciary standard to individual retirement accounts under Title II of ERISA, which Congress never established a specific standard of care for. They were to fit into the existing financial regulatory system, where in my IRA, when I go to an insurance producer to buy an annuity, when I go to a broker-dealer to get securities assistance, when I go to a registered investment advisor to get fiduciary advice, those are all choices I have, and the standard applicable to that professional applies. DOL is trying to change that without congressional authority to do so, so that the ERISA standard from employee benefit plans would be essentially the governing principle, and they don't have the authority to do that.
Mr. Berkowitz, do you agree?
Yeah, I would 100% agree, Congressman, and I would actually just quote from the Fifth Circuit decision where they specifically said, and we've heard a lot about this supposed gap. So even if we were to put in, for argument's sake, assume that there were a gap, which we don't think there is, the court said a perceived need does not empower DOL to craft de facto statutory amendments or to act beyond its expressly defined authority. They are clearly going well beyond that with this regulation.
Mr. Caden?
Without question, they are going beyond the clear, unambiguous ruling of the Fifth Circuit. I would just say, I hope that we don't get to a lawsuit or litigation, because I really think it's the responsibility of Congress to stop the department from doing what is clearly going to harm millions of Americans.
Ms. Neely?
Well, I agree with what's been well said by the other witnesses and could not agree more. It would be wonderful to avoid litigation, because that's just more time and resources on something that is not necessary. We welcome Congress taking action.
So in 2018, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit overturned the Department of Labor's 2016 fiduciary rule, deeming it an arbitrary and capricious use of regulatory power. I know you discussed this earlier, how the Department of Labor's most recent iteration of the fiduciary rule barely differs at all from the version that was invalidated by the courts in 2018. Mr. Campbell, since the Fifth Circuit's decision was issued, the Supreme Court has also issued its West Virginia versus EPA decision, which confirms and clarifies the major questions doctrine. Isn't the new proposal ripe for being overturned, given its similarity to the 2016 proposal and the newfound interest in the major questions doctrine since the Fifth Circuit decision?
I think that's an excellent point. When this was litigated in 2018 in the Fifth Circuit, the major questions doctrine had not been determined by the Supreme Court. And essentially, this is a very appealing case for that issue, because for 40 years, the Labor Department's own regulations and guidance embraced the same view of fiduciary. They only changed it and only discovered a whole new power to regulate an additional $13 trillion in IRAs in 2015. So that is an example of the statute has remained the same, yet suddenly a newfound power emerges. That is the essence of the major questions doctrine. So I think that will be an issue should we get to litigation, which again, I would echo the calls of the others here for Congress to not let it get that far. But if we get to litigation, I think that will be one of the issues that arises this time that did not last time.
Thank you. I yield back.